Now, get ready to spend the next 2 hours with our three sports-loving ladies, Mia O'Brien, Lauren Brooks, and Taylor Dahl.
Hey, hey.
This is Helmets and Heels
On 1010XL, switched on by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
Show me what you got, pretty lady.
Taylor has one more day off. She'll be back with us tomorrow, but we have a lot to get into today. Earlier this morning, we found out that the first NFL coach of the season has been fired, and it's not Doug Peterson, Mia. It is Robert Saleh, so we'll break that down with your good buddy Will Parkinson.
Yeah, rip those betting lines or those betting sheets or slips you may have that you thought it would be Doug Peterson apart. Nope, that's not the case, folks. An absolute stunner. And yes, Will Parkinson of the Turn on the Jets podcast will join us at 12:18. And, you know, Lauren, it's so interesting on so many levels, and not only will we hear from Will on this, we will hear from Taylor Dahl later on in the program as she has returned to the Jacksonville area ahead of Hurricane Milton, and needless to say, I think she will have a thing or two to say in her tangent today regarding one Aaron Rodgers, because traditionally, if you're to make a head coaching move, and yes, I understand the Jets had a transatlantic flight Sunday afternoon. I understand they play on Monday Night Football, so they had a day off yesterday. But that Robert Saleh showed up to work this morning at one Jets Drive in Florham Park and had no idea that this was coming. There were no conversations on the plane. There were no conversations on the tarmac. And this was just suddenly thrust into his lap on a Tuesday morning is very interesting. Big picture, take the Jets part out of it. Imagine if it was another team near and dear to your heart.
Well, it seems like a conversation was had yesterday with the franchise quarterback and Aaron Rodgers. And even though 4 days ago he said he and Robert Saleh are good friends, it does seem like he said, I don't think he's the best fit for us. That's what it seems like from the outside looking in. I know Damian Woody, the owner of the Jets, has made some other bold moves in the past, but it does seem like they're putting all of their eggs in that Rodgers basket. I don't know if that's necessarily the right thing.
Yeah, it's the first time Woody Johnson has made a firing mid-season.
I called him Damian Woody.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. It's a
There's
Tuesday. We're approaching hump day. It's all good. But yeah, Woody Johnson has never made a firing mid-season in all his years of owning the New York Jets, which, you know, that's been a conversation and a talking point as well regarding Shad Khan has made multiple mid-season moves when it comes to not only the head coaching position, but general manager. And so I think that when you look at how long Woody Johnson has owned that team and the fact that this is the first one, it has to be the A.A. Ron effect. So we'll dive into that as well as, of course, some things when it comes to the local team as well in today's program.
Absolutely. Happy birthday, first and foremost, to Brian Thomas Jr.
Another
turns
Libra.
22 today. And look, you can look at the stats across the board and see that he's one of the best receivers in the league right now. Again, it's only through 5 games, but we know how fast he is. I remember someone saying that, yeah, he ran a 4.33 at the combine, but he's faster than that. And I think that's what you're seeing when we watch him play against these NFL defenses is when he gets going and his route running ability, that speed maybe was clocked at 4.33, but nobody's catching him.
Yeah, and I go back to the combine when so many people, including myself, asked BTJ when he was at the podium what part of his game that he is most proud of, and he said his speed. And I think certainly it was showcased at LSU, but I think coming into the pre-draft process, so many people looked at him as stretch the field guy, yes, but also a guy who can win in the red zone because he is a bigger framed, although maybe not a 6'5" or even a Gabe Davis size, but a guy who's a deep ball threat, but not necessarily a burner. He's proven he's a burner. There is no doubt about that, of course, with the highest clocked next-gen stats speed of the season of any player in the National Football League. I also don't feel weird in saying this, Lauren, because Daniel Jeremiah and our friend Bucky Brooks, of course, the sideline reporter here for the radio broadcast of the Jacksonville Jaguars, they said it on their podcast yesterday, so I don't feel weird in saying it. When Brian Thomas Jr. was drafted, the second LSU wide receiver off the board, and there were folks around the football circles that said, well, you know, the last time there were 2 alpha potential number 1 wide receivers in that LSU wide receiver room, one was not draft eligible after the 2019 national championship team, that being Jamar Chase. And the pseudo number 2 was a guy by the name of Justin Jefferson. Both those guys turned out okay. But one of them, the quieter, second option, if you may, is currently the best player in the National Football League, outside of perhaps Patrick Mahomes, which we'll also touch on last night's Monday Night Football game a little bit as well, because I know Lauren and Derek Carr, of course, have a wonderful relationship that we need to tap into. Point being,
We have no relationship.
the point being,
I just predicted he's not a good quarterback.
yes,
That's all.
exactly.
I don't hate him like Taylor
it's said
hates
in
Aaron
jest.
Rodgers.
It is said in jest that you're not the biggest fan of
Of
Derek
his
Carr.
quarterbacking style, I don't care about his
You were a
personality.
big fan, though, not only of BTJ in the pre-draft process,
Yeah.
but of Justin Jefferson. And that's where I don't feel weird, because people who know a lot more than me are starting to say it. And that's not to say that Malik Neighbors is not going to be a
No, he's
top
been
10 wide
fantastic.
receiver. He's been great so far. That's not to say Jamar Chase isn't a top 5 wide receiver, but we all know who the number 1 wide receiver in the National Football League is, who was the quote-unquote second option on an LSU team, the quieter option of the two. And it worked out pretty well once before. And man, oh man, as those boys on Move the Sticks said yesterday, it may be happening again with BTJ.
It's funny, Mia, because we know him as quiet because of our interactions with him. But I bet if you were to ask the casual NFL fan if BTJ is quiet after they've watched him, they would never know that.
Right.
Because all they're seeing is this guy who is not afraid to celebrate first downs, celebrate touchdowns. They, at this point in time across the league, I think are realizing they probably should have gotten both Tank Bigsby and Brian Thomas Jr. a little bit higher in their fantasy leagues. Chad Ochocinco tweeted out yesterday that he needs a BTJ jersey so that people outside of just Jacksonville know who he is, because he's been so incredibly good so far. Look, Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. are the reason that Jaden Daniels won the Heisman Trophy. Yes, he also ran the ball really well at LSU, but he had those two guys, and you don't see that combination, that duo in a lot of colleges. You barely see it across the NFL either, because you can't pay both of those guys. But certainly here in Jacksonville, it's been fun to see what he has been able to do. And I also want to mention, on a less happy topic, as we await the landfall of Hurricane Milton, certainly our thoughts and prayers with everyone that are in the path of that. A lot of those people have been trying to rebuild. I've seen all the pictures and video of all the debris that's still sitting on the sides of the streets, because it hasn't been picked up yet down in the Tampa area and certainly the Big Bend area. And so just thinking of them, didn't sleep all that well last night, just worrying about all of those people. I know they're trying to get out of that area. A lot of people evacuating, and so there's been a ton of traffic for that. And then you worry about running out of gas and things like that. Here, everything, as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I experienced yesterday, I was able to get gas easily, able to get toilet paper,
I
groceries,
was going to say,
things
were
like
you
that.
okay with on your search?
I was totally fine.
Okay.
I had no issues whatsoever. We already had water, so we're good there. But I didn't have any issues, but I know that people are starting to have a little bit of that storm buying, necessarily ahead of the storm.
Oh, it's in full form in the old SJC. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
But
People like to, I shouldn't say it like that, but people feel like they need to panic buy almost.
Yeah.
Like I saw a picture of Costco and there was absolutely nothing as far as toilet paper, paper towels, or water there.
Yeah. Remain calm, folks. Of course, listen to your local law enforcement, our local weather authorities. We have truly, and I don't just say this because I worked alongside them for 4 years, we truly have some of the best meteorologists in the world. Yes, the world here in Jacksonville, let alone in the state of Florida. Believe what they're saying, follow what they say. I obviously have some comrades and very good friends who not only live in St. Pete, but they work in the news, so they will be there through the storm. So yeah, it's one of those things where I've had to, and I've said this to a couple people over the last 24 hours. I've had to kind of reconcile with this idea of in news, we are taught you have to go. I've been sent into hurricanes. I've been sent into floods and tornadoes. And even as a sports anchor, because it's, hey, when duty calls, you got to go. And recognizing that, well, yes, you have to get the story. Your life is also very important. So if you are told to leave, whether you're a reporter, a meteorologist, whatever it is. You'll see the folks on CNN and the Weather Channel who are trained for this. I mean, look, a lot of them, and I have a friend who actually works in the Florida area now who is a trained tornado and hurricane chaser. That's his job. He is certified to do that. Don't be that. Please don't be that. And of course, we will be on the air here on the Superstation, keeping you posted all week long.
Yeah, obviously yesterday it was a Category 5. It's now a Category 4, so at least that's a little bit better. They're projecting it to be a Category 3 when it hits. still, they say to evacuate if you're in those areas when it's going to be 3 and higher. So it's not like, oh, it was a 5, now it's a 3, everything's fine.
Back to sports, Lauren, before we get ready to bring on our next guest. Not that we are belittling in any such way the real story in the world and in our neck of the woods this week, which is, of course, Hurricane Milton. And like we said, we will be on the air throughout the week. We will be keeping you posted on the latest. 625 on the text line, Design by Lifetime Enclosures, which, of course, you can get in on the conversation at 641-1010. Are you all saying that BTJ has played 5 NFL games and is one of the top receivers or the top receiver in the NFL? Are you kidding me? I think we will have something to say about that. But first, we do have a guest joining us in our next segment.
Look, he's 6th in the entire NFL in receiving yards through this point in the season. We're saying that he's incredibly fast. We're saying that he's a great route runner. And he's developing a great chemistry with Trevor Lawrence already. Those are all things that are true. Will he be as good as Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson and the other talented receivers throughout the league, a Tyreek Hill? Time will tell.
I'm just stroking the flame
from this point
of
in time, he is everything you would want in a rookie wide receiver.
I'm just stroking the flame of lightning striking twice with that LSU contingent because look, I mean, once upon a time you drafted DJ Chark out of LSU, and not that DJ hasn't carved out a nice career for himself, and injuries have certainly been a factor throughout his 8 years now, I think, in the National Football League. The reality is that history doesn't lie. It's usually 9 times out of 10 accurate. And from OBJ to Jarvis Landry to Jay Jettas to Jamar Chase to now this latest iteration with Brian Thomas Jr. and Malik Neighbors, the track record appears to be solid once again. And finally, Jacksonville, it's in your favor.
So Nico Collins leads the league. He now has the hamstring injury, so we'll see on him, and he's week to week at this point in time. Jamar Chase is 2nd, Justin Jefferson is 3rd, DK Metcalf is 4th, and Jaden Reed for Green Bay is 5th, all ahead of Brian Thomas Jr. Now again, Malik Neighbors, who's 7th, has missed a game. Am I saying that Brian Thomas Jr. is better than Mike Evans? No, absolutely not. He has to do this for 10, and he hasn't even gotten to 1,000 yards. But assuming BTJ gets to 1,000 yards, he has to do that for 10 more years in order to be even considered close to Mike Evans. But from what we've seen so far, if you're not excited about that, then you're just plain negative. That's all I have to say. Do what Hayden Hurst did if you are dealing with serious pain. Give Active Health Jacks a call at 904-296-0202 today, or you can visit them online at activehealthjacks.com. They will help you like they've helped so many across Jacksonville. Like Mia said, we have a guest on the other side. Will Parkinson, Turn on the Jets podcast, joins us after Robert Saleh was fired up in New York. That is next on Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
When you don't want to wait till tomorrow for analysis of today's game, get it 2 hours after the final whistle. Hacker Leon and Coach Campo bring you the window world of Northeast Florida 5th quarter. Presented by Von Rowan Law on 1010XL.
Hey guys, Taylor Dahl here of Helmets and Heels. Are you looking for a remix on the original chicken sandwich? The Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich is a flavorful spin on a familiar favorite, created with a Chick-fil-A filet, a drizzle of honey, pickled jalapenos, and a spread of savory pimento cheese. The Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich combines your favorite flavors with a twist. And this year, it's back with a bite with a spicy filet option, available for a limited time only. So stop by and enjoy one today at your local Chick-fil-A restaurant.
At Honda, we appreciate all the comparisons to other vehicles. And no matter how many times they compare their vehicles to a Honda, only a Honda is a Honda. Remember, value, quality, safety, there is no substitute. Visit your local Honda dealer now and experience the difference.
I'm here with Clayton Bromberg, the president of Underwoods. Clayton, I know you're the head diamond buyer at Underwoods, and you travel to the markets to buy diamonds. Why don't you just look at an emailed list and have them send you the diamond?
Frank, there are a couple of reasons we go straight to the source when we're selecting the diamonds we want to put the Underwood name on. First, as an expert diamond buyer, I have to see a diamond before I can really judge its beauty versus the price it's being offered at. Second, when we're at the source, we have huge selections to choose our diamonds from, so we don't have to compromise the Underwood quality standard. The result is we control what goes into our diamond stock instead of allowing a diamond dealer to send us what he wants us to have. The bottom line is we're able to offer our customers carefully selected, beautiful diamonds that we're proud to have carry the Underwood name.
Underwoods, serving excellence since 1928 in San Marco, Avondale, and the shops of Ponte Vedra.
Brackish Vodka, the official vodka of UNF Athletics, 100% made in Jacksonville, is available at all local liquor stores. Visit Browdy's, Total Wine, ABC, Shores, Golden, Sahara's, Golden Ox, and more. Drink our gluten-free San Francisco Spirit award-winning vodka and see why it's the smoothest vodka you can buy. When you drink Brackish Vodka, you support all of our local employees and all the money stays in Jacksonville. Drink Brackish Vodka and live life slightly salty. Proud partner of the Jaguars.
Roof damage? Call before you claim. Green Law Group, fighting insurance companies for you. They will work for you when you have roof damage. Don't let your insurance deny you. Don't call an adjuster. Call Green Law Group at 904-302-7055. Remember, if you have roof damage, call Green Law Group before you claim. They've settled millions and will work hard to get your claim and new roof. Green Law Group. Call before you claim. 904-302-7055.
It's storm season, and JEA is committed to keeping you informed. In the event of a storm, we'll text and email you about the status of your services. We use Facebook and Twitter to post real-time updates. Our live outage map on JEA.com lets you track restoration progress. And as crews work to restore services, our storm outreach team will be in local neighborhoods to answer your questions. Because as your community utility, JEA is here to keep you safe and connected. Your community, your utility.
There's something special about football under the Friday night lights.
Clear eyes, full hearts.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists Friday Night Lights.
Presented by Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic and Air Conditioning on 1010XL.
3D Digital has you covered for any of your business's digital marketing needs. From producing award-winning videos to getting those digital ads to follow your customers around the internet, our team has your back. Visit 3ddigital.com or give us a call at 904-712-4004 to schedule a free consultation today. 904-712-4004.
Clean air, cool air, both are extremely important. Trust Florida Home AC to deliver on both with their Remy Halo, the next generation of air quality technology. Call 777-4300 for Florida Home AC and breathe clean and cool air.
Rotator cuff injuries are common among athletes and those who have physically demanding careers. Don't let this injury keep you away from the sport you love. Dr. George Barry here, and the first thing you need to do with a serious shoulder injury is to diagnose where the damage is and how significant it is. Rotator cuff tears are either acute tears sustained during an injury or accident, or degenerative tears. If you're interested in learning more about rotator cuff repair and how our expert team of orthopedic surgeons can help you, call Barry Orthopedics today or visit barryorthopedics.com.
Hey, it's Angela and Brian Wall. How many companies do you know in this day and age that actually want their potential customers to call their competition and get quotes from them?
That's what WindoWorld wants you to do. WindoWorld knows there are other window companies out there, but we also know those other guys. When compared to WindoWorld, they can't offer you the quality at the price that WindoWorld can.
And with WindoWorld, you get the absolute best guarantee there is in the window replacement business.
If anything goes wrong with your new WindoWorld windows, 5 years from now, 10, 15, 50, WindoWorld and I will be there to fix it for you. You get peace of mind with WindoWorld, and to top it off, WindoWorld windows increase the value of your home. So look what you get with WindoWorld. Quality windows, low price, the best guarantee in the business, energy savings, and an increase in the value of your home. A win-win for you.
Call WindowWorld today and get your free in-home estimate or see them online at windowworldneflorida.com.
WindoWorld, simply the best for less. Thank you for your business.
WindowWorld also offers energy-efficient doors.
SportsForecaster.com has all the data you need to project tomorrow's winners. Register for free and track the performance of all your favorite players and teams, including all your fantasy team picks and prospects. Sports Forecaster has the most detailed player profiles on the web, precise depth charts, every transaction, every injury, every news update. No ranting or raving, no preening or barstool bluster. At SportsForecaster.com, you get the timely info you need for every game. SportsForecaster.com. Sign up for free today.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line.
Hello.
We can wiggle it.
It's
funny, Lauren Brooks, that, about 2 weeks ago or so, I did many national call-in and was asked the sportsbook odds for the first head coach fired in the National Football League. Could it be Doug Peterson? And yet here we sit on October the 8th, and the first head coach fired in the National Football League, Will Parkinson, is...
Robert Saleh. Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, 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 RJ Saunders here at 1010XL World Headquarters as Will joins us from up in New York on the Garber Auto Mall hotline. He covers the Jets for the Turn on the Jets podcast and, of course, does such great work over there in covering the team on a beat reporting basis. Will, let's begin with this. On a scale of 0 to 10, when your phone went off this morning, approximately 9:52, I think it was, a.m., and Adam Schefter broke the news that Robert Saleh had been fired. On a scale of 0 to 10, your reaction and surprise was a?
7. I don't think I'm necessarily surprised he got fired this year. I think you felt like maybe yesterday morning, if it was going to happen this week, it would have been right after the game, kind of an emotional reaction to the Jets losing. Felt like once we got into Tuesday, did the presser yesterday, felt less likely. The Jets have not fired a head coach in the entirety of of Woody Johnson's tenure as the owner in the last 25 years. So not something that the Jets do as much as the national perception is the Jets are a mess, and I get it. They're not a team that's fired head coaches during the season in the past. So again, shocked that it's maybe the timing, not necessarily maybe that he is out of a job. Felt like maybe he should have been done in February, but I guess here we are, and Jeff Ulbricht's the new Jets head coach.
Well, is there more to the story considering per multiple sources, he was escorted out of the building by the team's director of security? That just doesn't seem like a polite way to handle business.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of leaking being done. To put it politely, I think the Jets are going to be obviously made to look bad here. And, again, I don't know if that story is necessarily true. We'll see. I know the players found out, when we did, talking with some people in the locker room that, they found out just like we did. So, it seems like kind of a cluster bleep of sorts that, in that source. But, look, the Jets have underperformed through 5 weeks. There's been a massive energy problem, kind of, especially on game days. It feels like, around Robert Saleh, the press conferences haven't been great. There's been pointed comments from, Quincy Williams, about accountability, Aaron Rodgers about accountability. So, yeah, it's not great. And it felt like the Jets got to the point where, even if you read Woody Johnson's press release about the respect the players have for Ulbrich, and, when that stuff gets thrown in there, usually it's a shot at the guy previous. So I don't know if he got escorted out of security or not. I don't know if that's a normal procedure. But it does seem like if that's true, that's obviously not the best look of sorts for the New York Jets.
As much as the Jets' perspective, Will, is accountability, the right guy for the job, respect of the players, does it also feel like Robert Saleh could be viewed as a scapegoat for the season going the way it has through 5 games?
Yeah, no, that's fair. If they're not going to, I guess there was conversations. Connor Hughes had a report that there was conversations around Hackett. Look, the Jets had to replace Hackett and kind of keep him on staff while making him basically useless on the staff in the offseason. So, again, the offense has been the issue. The one thing I would push back on is I'm seeing a lot of, he coached the defense and why is he fault for the offense? Robert Saleh made a pointed effort all offseason to talk about how much he was going to be involved in the offense and how, look, he's the CEO of the team. He was the head coach. That was why he was hired here. He was not hired here to just be a defensive guy. And the offense has struggled, yes, but he's 20-36 as a coach. And while, again, Rodgers hasn't looked great the last couple weeks, Nate Hackett is who he is. I think anyone that's watched football in the last 20 years knows hiring a Hackett to be your offensive coordinator is probably not the best move. But at the end of the day, the Jets have had a problem with penalties, with being ready to play on Sundays and Mondays and Thursdays and whenever you play football at this point. And that falls on the head coach, and, it's a results-driven business. And if the Jets, wait 3 to 4 more weeks and things spiral even more, your season's kind of over and you don't have a head coach. Now, at least I think the thinking is, can we salvage something here? Can we kind of catch lightning in a bottle, for at least the next, 3.5 months? So, yeah, he probably is the scapegoat, right? Because Hackett would have been naturally the guy you would have fired. But, based on Rodgers' relationship with Hackett and, the rest of the Jets offensive staff, the only thing they really could do, I guess, at this point outside of trading for Devontae and getting Hassan Reddick to report, was firing Robert Saleh.
Yeah, of course, this makes the Devontae Adams stuff even more interesting. As far as the odds for the next head coach, Bill Belichick leads the race, and then Mike Vrabel right behind him. What are your thoughts on the next head coach?
Yeah, so look, I think this is a great opportunity for Jeff Ulbrich, a guy who was the head coach of the Senior Bowl, is a guy who San Francisco tried desperately to pry from the Jets to be their defensive coordinator, in the offseason. He got head coach buzz the last 2 years. When he took over as defensive coordinator, the Jets were the 32nd ranked defense in the NFL after the 2021 season, or that into the 21-21 NFL season. Going to 2022, at 23, Ulbrich and Saleh, to both their credit, hand in hand, Ulbrich is the defensive coordinator and does call the plays, though, and has turned this into a perennial top 5 unit, if not better. So, he's got a real shot here. I think a lot of people around the league were curious if, the Jets had done really well this year, and the defense stayed. He'd probably be a guy who'd be a head coaching candidate for many teams. Down the line, obviously it's the Vrabels and who God only knows with Belichick and things like that. And, it's the offensive minds, that kind of come to the Slowicks and, Johnsons and those peoples of the world. But, right now I think this is Jeff Ulbrich's job to lose. And, I'm not always a huge fan of the interim guy getting the job. Sometimes it's very momentary and situational, but 12 games is a huge sample size. Ulbrich's a guy, again, well-respected, around the league, very well-respected in that locker room. Was a guy that probably was going to be a head coach in his next stop anyways, not another defensive coordinator. So, this is his job to lose, and I think you'll see him coach that way. And again, I think that's part of the reasoning for making the move here is kind of that aggressive, we're all in approach, and it feels like Ulbrich's the guy that's going to, kind of have those principles.
Couple more for Will Parkinson on the Garber Automall hotline. He is the host of the Turn on the Jets podcast covering the New York Jets. Of course, we are covering the story of the day in the National Football League. Robert Saleh let go after just 5 games into the 2024 season. Let's go back, though, Will, to the Devontae Adams trade rumors. Does this move the needle one way or another? Was this a power struggle in which perhaps Saleh was not giving in to a Aaron Rodgers request to bring another buddy to the Big Apple?
I think Robert Saleh was third in charge, fourth in charge in the Jets organization in terms of power, which is kind of, had some of its own problems. I don't personally think this changes things with Devontae. I think the biggest thing when it comes to Devontae is not up to Rodgers or the head coach or even, frankly, Joe Douglas. It's up to Woody Johnson, who, just made a win-now move. Obviously, when you fire the coach and try to get a spark, obviously you're in win-now mode. I think it's going to come down to the Raiders for who's going to take on the cash. I think it's about $12 million remaining on Devontae's deal. I guess it goes down to 11 if he doesn't move this week. But if Woody Johnson's willing to be as all in as he says, based on the move he just made, that's what it'll come down to. Devontae's made it clear he wants to be a Jet, and obviously through all the reporting, and it seems like the Jets are really the only spot. But the Raiders don't want to eat the cash, and it's going to come down to Woody Johnson. So I don't know that this changes anything. If anything, I know this might be the opposite of everyone's thinking. Like, maybe this makes it more likely it's happening if Woody Johnson's acting the way he is. That maybe means he's, is he more inclined now to give Hassan Reddick a deal? Is he more inclined now to go trade for Devontae? That's kind of where my thinking is. I know as much as I know, it kind of maybe seems like the opposite. I don't know. Devontae going to play with the Saints and Dennis Allen's not exactly a stable situation either.
No, certainly not. And so that leads me to my final question for you, Will. Do you think all of this goes back to when Aaron Rodgers missed part of the offseason programming to go to Egypt? And then, of course, we saw right after that awkward exchange when it looked like Saleh wanted a hug and Aaron Rodgers didn't want that. Like, you kind of looked at the look in Rodgers' eyes and you're like, oh, he doesn't seem like he likes him. Do you think all of that was just stuff that we started to make more of, or do you think that was real?
I thought the comments, as I mentioned about the cadence stuff, was much more of a bigger deal. I thought even, the way that Robert Saleh handled Aaron Rodgers' absence in those 2 days of minicamp was much more of a red flag of, like, trying to gain back, like, this is my team a little bit. I didn't make too much of the hug thing, just because, I don't know, Rodgers kind of has done a lot of this stuff for years, so I'm just never really surprised, I guess, by that. I think I was more concerned with Saleh essentially blaming the cadence and then Rodgers being like, well, we should just hold guys accountable. We're not going to change who we are. That was a huge red flag, in hindsight. And again, even just looking back to minicamp and the way Saleh could have done a million different ways of not making Aaron look bad, and he kind of aired him out a little bit, and obviously it became a national story I guess it's a national story 4 months later. So those are the things that I look back on and go, ooh, that was a bit dicey, maybe more so at least to me than the post touchdown interaction.
We know you have so much to do in light of this news in the National Football League this morning, Will. So we appreciate some time on this fine Tuesday. Again, Robert Saleh fired by the Jets 5 games into the season. And yes, Will, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention before we let you go, we have had multiple Jaguar fans, I'm assuming, on our text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures ask if Nate Hackett will indeed be the interim coach. He will not be the interim head coach. It will be Jeff Ulbrich, the defensive coordinator.
If they hired Hackett as the interim coach, I would have I would have probably had a much different reaction to this move. Ulbrich's the guy who Jets fans love. Not so sure Nate Hackett's popular in pretty much any circle outside of the Rodgers household.
Right, exactly. But it would have made for elite content. Either way.
It would have.
Yeah. Exactly. The elite content. I'm looking out for you. I'm looking out for us around the National Football League. It's always dramatic when it comes to the New York Jets, and Will Parkinson does a great job covering everything Jets up there in the tri-state area. Thank you, as always, for joining us, sir.
Thanks so much, guys. Have a great day.
There he goes, Will Parkinson on the Garber Auto Mall hotline. You can find him on X, all the great stuff that he does at Will Pa. That's Will PA 11 on X. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Lauren Brooks. The Jaguars, conveniently enough, about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes after the news that Robert Saleh would be fired came down, announced that they will wear the Prowler throwbacks again when they host the New York Jets in December.
That would have been such a waste of the most beautiful jerseys I've ever seen since they were, since they began in the 90s, if they had only worn them once this season.
They were going to wear them twice, but I thought it was going to be the Vikings game. So the fact that, maybe it was already pre-planned. Maybe it wasn't. I have no intel, but I just thought it was hilarious either way. Speaking of great content.
Kick them while they're down.
Yeah, an hour and 45 minutes later, we're wearing them again, and it's against the Jets.
It is interesting that Will said that he thinks Jeff Ulbrich could win the job permanently. Yeah. I wouldn't have thought that. I didn't follow his career as closely, obviously, but I do find that interesting because there are some big names out there, whether it's former head coaches or whether it's the offensive coordinators.
Right, and it's a great point you make, Lauren, because look at the recent history of interim head coaches that did get the job and didn't get the job. Antonio Pierce does hold on to the job in Las Vegas, if only for this past off season, because obviously things have not exactly started off on the right footing in Vegas this season. You look, though, at previously in Las Vegas when John Gruden was let go, and Rich Bisaccia became the interim.
And players wanted him to stay.
Just
like it sounds like in the Jets
they would like for Jeff Ulbrich to stay. I think you could also go to Carolina and the turmoil they've had at the head coaching position. They wanted Steve Wilkes after he led them to, at the very least, a 500 record as the interim. They wanted him to stick around as the head coach, and instead, David Tepper goes big fish hunting and brings in Frank Reich. Wilkes goes to San Francisco. I know it wasn't exactly the marriage everyone hoped for, but he was a pretty successful defense coordinator once again. And so I think that while we can look back in hindsight's 2020 and say maybe those two organizations should have gone with the interim and it would have worked out, history tells us, whether it's Las Vegas this season or even in the college ranks, Mississippi State, when they kept Zach, why am I blanking on his last name, who was Mike Leach's defense coordinator, and they kept him around. Zach Arnett. Promoted him. And that was obviously a very different situation, given the head coach's passing, and it was so late in that season and so late in that cycle. But he was let go after 1 year, and for a complete clean slate in favor of Jeff Lebby.
Well, now he has 12 games. Ulrich does 12 games. I think that's a long enough sample size to figure out whether you want him. So maybe that's why you make the decision to fire Saleh so early in the season, is you're not happy with how things are going. Your quarterback clearly isn't happy with him. They've had some issues, some disconnects. And so therefore you say, well, let's make the change now. And if Ulbrich is the guy, I'd rather have more games under his belt and see where things go.
And Will made the great point, too, that this is win now mode. This is to spark the team. This is not to tear down the team. And of course, we can't ignore the writing on the wall of, is this a mandate from the quarterback?
That's what it sure seems like from here. All right, we'll get it back to the Jaguars. How do the Jaguars make adjustments on defense? We'll get to that when we return. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Here's Linda Beaver.
Let's start the debate. Why would someone buy a new car from you? We have an exclusive 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty on every new vehicle. We offer a competitive wow price plus free oil changes. How much will someone get for their trade? We offer more than $4,000 over KBV value. Well, we never lose a trade over price. Okay, when is the best time to buy a car? Right now. Ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't matter which side you pick. At Beaver Toyota and Beaver Chevrolet, you get it all. Let us show you why we're the winning vote.
Mia here. Have you been betting and winning at MyBookie.com? If you haven't bet with MyBookie yet, they are still running the double deposit bonus. Just sign up with promo code 1010XL. We are on to Week 6 in the NFL, plus a ton of elite college matchups that run through the weekend. Get some skin in the game. You certainly should have your eye on that spread for Florida, Tennessee on Rocky Top on Saturday night. You know the Jags play the Bears to kick off NFL Sunday morning across the pond. The Jags currently slight underdogs, and if you think the hometown team can win in London, bet it. Of course, the surging Commanders also play the Ravens in a battle of the DMV. The Cowboys play the Lions. And for Sunday Night Football, the Bengals travel to New York to face the Giants. For a limited time, MyBookie still has that double deposit bonus. Use promo code 1010XL to claim a bonus that doubles your money on your first deposit up to $1,000. Double your money with promo code 1010XL. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere, and make your season a winning season.
This is Paige, owner of Awaken 180 Weight Loss. People ask me all the time what's healthy, and that's hard because healthy is different from losing weight. And I think that's where a lot of people struggle. There are a lot of foods out there that are healthy foods, but they're not going to support your weight loss. And that's what we're here to help with. We're here to help you get in the healthy foods that are going to help you lose weight. The Awaken 180 difference is our coaches. It's our team. You can find things online about weight loss, but you try them yourself and they just don't work. And that's because everyone is different. And that's what our coaches are so skilled at helping you figure out.
They certainly figure it out. This is Mike Dempsey. And as you all know, I dropped my 25 pounds in just 4 weeks thanks to Awaken 180. They did the work. I just followed my plan. They did the same for Matt Hayes, and I'd say they hit the target with Hacker, about to reach the 100-pound mark. Let them do it for you. Reserve your consultation at awaken180weightloss.com or call 844-346-1800 for Awaken 180.
Dive into Beyond Triathlon, an inspiring documentary with stories of women in sports, featuring Jacksonville's Dottie Dorian, Mayor Donna Deegan, and 3-time Olympic gold medalist Nancy Hogshead at the Lazara Performance Hall at UNF this Saturday, October 12th. After, Bacardi invites you to celebrate with a triumphant Toast to Excellence reception. Golden and silver levels get an exclusive custom blended bottle of rum. Get tickets starting at $10 at BeyondTriathlon.com. Proceeds benefit scholarships for female athletes.
Being the primary breadwinner in your marriage is a huge responsibility, but that doesn't mean you should continue to be the primary breadwinner after your divorce, too. The attorneys at the Florida Women's Law Group work hard to make sure you're not responsible for supporting your ex any more than necessary. I'm Heather Quick, owner and attorney. Learn how we can help at FloridaWomen'sLawGroup.com or call us 904-204-2359. Divorce for women, by women. Offices, Jacksonville and St. John's.
This right here is as good as it gets. This is life getting lived without obligations or complications. This is filling your cup and savoring the moment. This is the gift of presence, served to you in a place where there's room for everyone and enough to go around. And the best part, it's always Sonny's here. Sonny's Barbecue, local pitmasters since '68.
This is Tony Baselli, Pro Football Hall of Famer. I was known for protecting our quarterback. These days, I'm extending that protection to a different arena, your home. I have partnered with Heritage Roofing of North Florida, your premier local roofers with over 25 years of experience. Heritage is your go-to roofer for hurricane preparation, with same-day inspections and estimates. They also work with all insurance companies. Let Heritage Roofing of North Florida safeguard your home and family. Visit heritagenfl.com for your free estimate today.
State license CCC 1335410.
This Date in Sports History is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On October 8, 2018, NFL quarterback Drew Brees broke Peyton Manning's all-time passing record, setting the mark on a 62-yard touchdown pass to Traquan Smith.
What is the only team in the NFL to neither host nor play in the Super Bowl? The answer coming up.
Having the right homeowner's policy protection means you're staying on top of your most valuable possession, your home. For information on finding an agent, go to southernoak.com.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
The only team in the NFL that hasn't hosted or played in the Super Bowl? The Cleveland Browns.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours.
Hey, gang, Prosser here to save you some cash. Maximize your home sale now with the market experts who deliver more money in less time, and those experts are Chad and Sandy Newman. Maybe you're worried about costly repairs or upgrades needed to sell your home. You don't have to worry. The worries are relieved with Chad and Sandy, the local real estate experts we are trusting and recommending with the sale of your home. Chad and Sandy guarantee your home sold at an agreed-upon price and deadline, or they will buy it. Mortgage rates are down. It's time to create your market. Marvin in Cobblestone writes, my siblings and I moved our parents to Maryland so they can get some extra help as they get older. Next, we had to sell the home to get them some financial help for their extra care. We hired Chad and Sandy, and they delivered big. Chad and Sandy's team got our home sold in 7 days, above asking price. You can too. Call Chad and Sandy today, 904-414-6200, or go to chadandsandy.com. That's Chad, ANDSANDY.com.
This is Dr. Steve Crenshaw, Assistant Team Physician for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Here's the latest update on the Jaguars, brought to you by Baptist Health and JOI.
Today is the 22nd birthday of Jaguars first-round pick Brian Thomas Jr. BTJ got the celebration started early on Sunday.
Trevor drops, fires deep downfield, got a man, it's Brian Thomas Jr. 50, into Colts territory, 35, 30, 25, 10, 5, touchdown! Brian Thomas Jr. just went 85 yards. How good is that? And the Jags have taken the lead.
Frank Frangie with the call on Jaguars radio. Happy 22nd birthday to Jaguars rookie wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr. I'm Andrew Gibson with your Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute Jaguars update.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
This is Helmets and Heels.
Kept classy by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
On 1010XL.
Mia O'Brien is here. RJ Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks. Taylor Dahl has the day off. She'll be back with us tomorrow. It is an Active Health Jacks Tuesday. You can find them online at activehealthjacks.com or give them a call 904-296-0202 today. If you are in pain, they will treat the source of the problem and you will not be in pain anymore. All right, right now we have a special giveaway. It's the Spirit of a Woman Bacardi giveaway. You must be 21 and up to win. But if you want to win this very special bottle of Bacardi, be call number 3 at 641-1010. Call number 3 at 641-1010. And Mia, it honors a very special documentary called Beyond Triathlon that premieres this Saturday at UNF Lazar Performance Hall. Showcases the inspiring journeys of women who have shaped the sports world and continue to lead in their communities. The film spotlights trailblazers Dottie Dorian, Celeste Callahan, Nancy Hogshead, and Mayor Donna Deegan.
Yep, and a lot of those ladies were at the UNF JEA Women's Athletics Luncheon that I emceed a few weeks ago, and they talked about it there and, you know, what it means and what these women not only have done for women's sports at large, but locally here in Jacksonville, and the fact that Dottie has been such a pillar of the UNF athletics community, and you know this from working there, Lauren. Anytime that there's anything that can be done to enhance the women's athletic sports teams over there, she's the first one to write a check and to be there, not just write the check and be there monetarily, but emotionally, physically, spiritually. And so a great nod to her, Mayor Deegan, and so many other great female leaders in our city. I know we want to pivot to the Jacksonville Jaguars, but I did note that I wanted to get your reaction to last night's Monday Night Football game. Derek Carr, 18 of 28 for 165 yards in the Chiefs' 26-13 win over New Orleans.
Terrible interception in the beginning of the game.
Yes.
I mean, you just throw the ball away. I feel like every NFL starting quarterback knows when you get that kind of pressure that the Chiefs had on him, you throw the ball away, and instead he airmailed it to a Chiefs defender.
Are we out on Clint Kubiak, or is this a byproduct of quarterback play?
So I was never that high on Clint Kubiak.
Okay.
I never thought, oh, wow, the Saints are now a team that's going to tear through the NFC. And what you see is what you get through the first couple weeks. Did the Saints offense outperform those first 2 weeks? Absolutely. But sometimes when things change in the offseason, you need to have film if you're the opposing defenses in order to figure out how to attack those changes. And I think that's what happened here. Kubiak has done a great job with Derek Carr, and they talked about it last night on the broadcast with what he's been able to help as far as simplifying, like we talk about here, simplifying the offense for Carr. And I think Carr has some good weapons, certainly, with Alvin Kamara and Raheem Shasit.
No, she didn't include Chris Olave there, folks.
No,
he have two catches for 10 yards on 4 targets last night.
Yeah.
You saw his brother tweet, right?
It's going to be a very interesting situation. Rashid Shaheed. I can never say his name. I just know he's one of the fastest players, and he was an undrafted free agent there for the Saints. So he's got some weapons, but I don't think that the Saints were ever going to beat the Chiefs based off of how good that Chiefs defensive front is. That's what, to me, goes underrated. Everyone wants to talk about Mahomes and Kelsey, and I get all that, and Andy Reid. But that Chiefs defense is legit. And so, to me, Derek Carr was going to be harassed all night, which is what happened. He obviously ended up leaving the game with the oblique injury. He'll have an MRI today. But yeah, I don't think Derek Carr is ever going to be worth the contract that the Saints gave him. And I don't dislike him personally. It's just my evaluation of him as a quarterback.
I did think the New Orleans Saints defense, at times, and I'm obviously pointing towards the goal line interception, I thought this story was so crazy. Did you know about Colin Saunders, Colin Saunders, and how his brother is a backup dancer for Taylor Swift? Talk about perfect timing. Shout out to the ESPN Monday Night Football crew. They're spotlighting this story and the relationship he has because he was drafted by the Chiefs in 2019. And then he picks off Patrick Mahomes on the 2-yard line. I mean, that was epic. He's a great example.
And he ran it back so far. That was great.
He's a great example of what this Saints defense has been under Dennis Allen. Again, mind you, he was originally drafted by the Chiefs, but has since come to New Orleans. But he's a great example of the type of athlete that Dennis Allen, and in turn, Dennis Allen's protege, one Ryan Nielsen, want to have along that defensive front. He was clocked at about 15-plus miles per hour at 324 pounds, running that interception back. And so I bring that up to say, when it comes to the Jaguars' defense under Ryan Nielsen through 5 games this season, initial thoughts, Lauren, but bigger picture here, do they have the horses for courses to run the defense that he wants to run? Because while, yes, it was in a losing effort, I saw Colin Saunders doing what he did, and I'm like, yeah, like that's a guy who lines up on the interior as a defensive tackle, yes. But with that speed, I'm not saying you should regularly have him lining up at a wide 9, but certainly he's a freak athlete. And I think that's what Ryan Nielsen wants to build along that defensive front. And I think you're seeing it in Trayvon Walker. You're seeing it in Josh Hines-Allen. I don't know if you're seeing that across the board just yet from everyone.
Ryan Nielsen's defense to this point, I would call it disappointing. I thought that week 1, it was, especially through the first half against the Dolphins, I thought, wow, this is exactly what we saw in training camp and that aggressive mentality. And Ryan Nielsen is going to be the reason that the Jaguars make the playoffs this year, in addition, of course, to Trevor Lawrence. And then week 2 against the Browns basically did whatever they wanted on that first long drive, and that kind of set the tone for the game. The Jaguars didn't allow a lot of points, but they still allowed a decent amount of yards, and again, to a terrible team. I mean, we've now learned the Browns and Deshaun Watson are absolutely horrendous. And so then what we saw certainly against Buffalo was an absolute disaster. What we saw against the Texans with the amount of yards, and then certainly what they gave up to Joe Flacco with that amount of yards. The Jaguars' defense overall, to me, has been certainly a disappointment, and I thought it would be a bright spot. I think it can get better, and I do think Tyson Campbell returning healthy whenever that happens certainly can help them. But to me, Mia, the biggest issue, and I alluded to this yesterday, has been the safeties. The combination of Andre Sisco and Antonio Johnson has underperformed, and so to me, I think Ryan Nielsen needs to make a change there. Maybe Darnell Savage becomes the starting safety opposite Sisco. Maybe you put in Daniel Thomas. And again, he was not active this past week because of an injury that he suffered in practice. But I'd like to see something different than just those 2 guys back there, number 5 and number 26, because I don't think that they're getting the job done. And I think that is in turn making the rest of the secondary play worse.
Interestingly enough, not only on the Jaguars roster, but on any defensive roster in the National Football League, Antonio Johnson ranks 7th in total defensive snaps with 347, and Andre Sisco ranks 8th with 343.
Tons of snaps.
Tons of snaps.
Not saying they're graded well.
Which,
just saying they're out on the field.
The reason I lead with that is because what was the critique, or perhaps even at times we praised Ryan Nielsen for the rotations those first few weeks of the season. And then you heard Doug Peterson say we're probably going to go away from that solely because we have injuries and we don't have enough horses for courses. Cool. But that is one position, the safety position, that we haven't seen a ton of rotation. I think a byproduct of that was Darnell Savage missing 4 games, because in that Miami game, you did see him rotate a little bit to the safety position. Certainly no DT in that game either, because he was held up by a lower leg injury in the week 1 game. He was held out for that. Still no Dewey Wingard. And look, like that's their safety room right now. That's the depth that they have. And maybe that's the reason that you're seeing so much of those 2 players and less rotation there. And so because there's a larger sample size, therefore you can be critical. But to the point of a couple of our Heeligans, both in the MyBookie Digital Studio and the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures, if you're in the camp of you need to play, if you're a starter, you need to play the bulk of the snaps so you can get lathered up. Well, these guys are as lathered up as anybody, and you're not seeing those plays being made. It's not that you're being pulled off the bench and then you're back on the bench and and so therefore you never find a rhythm. These guys have no excuse when it comes to rhythm.
Yeah, the problem is there's been the busted assignments, and busted coverage usually leads to either massive gains or touchdowns or both. And so that's where I've been probably the most disappointed in, certainly the secondary overall. But I do think that those 2 guys have been healthy and just haven't played the way that they've needed to play. And so I do think the defensive line needs to have rotation. That is the most important.
And that's any NFL defense,
correct.
By the way.
That is most
That's
important.
not anything new. It was the rotation of the linebackers and the corners, I think, that had some people raising their eyebrows the first few weeks of the season.
I'd like to see a little bit more Mason Smith, because to this point in the season, through 5 weeks, it doesn't feel like Eric Armstead has jumped off the page other than a couple plays here and there. But it doesn't seem like he has been or provided the impact that we expected to this point in the season. And look, I do think that linebacking core, once Foye Oluokun returns, now that you've seen what Ventrell Miller can do, I think that's going to be one of the best parts of the defense. But outside of, like you mentioned, Trayvon and Josh Hines-Allen, where's the pass rush coming from?
Well, especially as we talk about Saunders for the Saints and the freak athlete, the prototype of that New Orleans Saints defense that Ryan Nielsen was a part of with Dennis Allen once upon a time. The Cam Jordans of the world, the Tamario Davises, are those guys just walking around, and you can just pick them up off the street? The answer is no. But the belief around the National Football League was that the Jaguars did have those freak athletes, and I believe they still do. Now, can it translate to the field and to game action? And I think in the case of Mason Smith, you have to give him more run so you can actually see if he can get lathered up, if he can find a rhythm, as opposed to pulling him on and off the field. He has really been lining up a lot more inside, and I think much of that is just a question of depth, and because Eric Armstead is rotating outside to the edge position. Mason has said he did line up at a wide 9 at different times when he was at LSU, and I'm not subscribing to that, although with the lack of depth at the edge rusher position, you may want to try that just to create a different look. But it is interesting that he's almost exclusively been at a 3 or a 5 tech, and not that that's not his natural position, because I think it is. But I just thought the Jaguars would be a little bit more creative with how they used Mason Smith. But he's 5 games into his career, so you also don't want to put too much on his plate.
Yeah, I was told in the offseason that he'd be the backup to Devon Hamilton. Mm-hmm. And so to this point in the season, it seems like they're still trying to figure out that rotation there inside in the interior, because, again, they haven't gotten any sort of push. The run defense, I think, has been okay as of late, but certainly that's because they didn't play Jonathan Taylor. They didn't play Joe Mixon. So I can't really praise the run defense at that point in time. What you saw on Sunday with the Jaguars and the Colts, both of the secondaries were burnt. Both of those passing defenses were not good. And what's interesting is we turn the page, and we'll talk about this more tomorrow, but the Bears, yes, beat up on the Panthers, but the Panthers are also terrible. Right. So are both of these teams, the Jaguars and the Bears, coming into this upcoming game Sunday morning at 9:30 in London, are they both coming in with a little bit of inflated confidences in their offenses?
Yeah, and so, of course, Taylor Dahl will be back tomorrow, so, of course, we will have all the Bears insight. And for those of you who have been looking, where is Taylor? It's Bears Hate Week. Where is Taylor? She will be back tomorrow. She did land late last night. She did do a podcast this morning with Gus Logue, so if you want to head on over to the 1010XL channels, those will be up a little bit later regarding the Bears. I'm also going to hop on with some of her contemporaries later this afternoon, and we're going to discuss this exact point, this matchup, Lauren, in the trenches between the Jaguars defensive front and a Bears offensive line that gave up 14 sacks through the first 3 games, has only given up 4 the last 2 weeks. But more so than that, I think their run game is so fascinating because DeAndre Swift was kind of a no-show for a couple of weeks there, despite the fact that they spent big money on him in the offseason. And so I'm excited to learn from these guys and bring back to you all, Heeligans, tomorrow, exactly what's going on there. Because I think it would be fair to say that as depleted as the offensive line for the Colts was this weekend with no Ryan Kelly, Braden Smith banged up, no Will Freeze goes down. I think that Colts offensive line is better than the Bears offensive line, but sans Jonathan Taylor, obviously the run game is not as good, and the Bears, despite a inefficient offensive line at times, have been able to run the ball.
Yeah, I heard Tony Smith say on Jaguars Today that Will Fries suffered a broken tibia in the game, and so that's why we saw the cart come out, the air cast go on, and of course he's done for the season. All right, we will switch gears and get it to Georgia football when we return. Luke Hetrick from up in Atlanta will join us, sports anchor and reporter. So we will talk all things Dogs football. You are listening to Helmets and Heels. It is an Active Health Jacks Tuesday on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Someone's going to win a tailgate combo pack from Southern Steer Butcher, valued at $100, and it could be you. Yes! Every month you'll have a shot at a Corona tailgate tent with a cooler, chair, and a collectible football. It's the ultimate tailgate. Enter at 1010XL.com. Now you can watch 1010XL shows all day on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Brought to you by MyBookie. Experience Vegas from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere. Sign up today. Use promo code 1010XL.
At Hodges Mazda, we are proud of our solid reputation in the Jacksonville community. Lauren Brooks here. As your hometown Mazda dealer, our high customer service standards and our huge inventory of new and used cars provide our customers a consistently first-rate car buying experience. Our professional non-commissioned sales team puts your best interest first without exception. And every vehicle purchase from Hodges Mazda comes with 2 years free maintenance. Visit Hodges Mazda today or shop online at HodgesMazda.com and discover the Hodges Mazda difference.
Injured in an accident? Have mounting medical bills? Can't work? Don't worry. Zach's got your back. I'm Zach Von Rowan of Von Rowan Law. I will fight for the compensation that you deserve. Set up your free consultation at zachsgotyourback.com.
Guys, feeling deflated in the bedroom? ED, low T, no energy? If your stuff is broken, call 904-STROKEN or 904stroken.com. No shots and the first treatment now free. Fix your ED at 904stroken.com.
It's about the hunt.
Captain Kevin Favor here with Captain Kirk and Jeff Lagerman.
We take you from the water to the woods.
On the Nimnicht Outdoors Show. Presented by Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic, and Air Conditioning.
Let's go to the woods, y'all.
Saturday mornings from 7 to 10 on 1010XL.
David Ammon here with Zero Res. Ammon, I can't believe it's been 20 years since we started Zero Res. Do you remember? You were only 7 years old and we had you cleaning the vans after school.
Yeah, I'm grateful I've always had a job that taught me to work hard, take care of things, and to appreciate our good customers.
October is birthday month for Zero Res, so what are we doing for our customers?
Just say happy birthday Zero Res and we'll give you $50 off. That's $50 off carpet, tile and grout, upholstery, or area rugs.
Zero Res.
Spelled Florida backwards, it's the right way to clean.
Zero Res.
When you need a plumber,
call Duck Duck Rooter.
When you need your septic tank pumped out,
call Duck Duck Rooter.
When you need any septic or plumbing issue fixed right the first time,
call Duck Duck Rooter.
Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing and Septic Services. DuckDuckRooter.com. This is Greg Huntington, a.k.a. The Mangler. I'm on the winning team at Waste Management. WM is the largest sustainability company in North America. If your business needs sustainable environmental services for waste removal and recycling collection, then you can count on the industry leader of WM to deliver results. Your services will be completed in a timely, safe, and eco-friendly manner. Go to WM.com/Duval. That's WM.com/Duval and get signed up today. If anyone can talk trash, it's the Mangler.
Atlantic Self Storage, the official storage partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Need to make room to watch football in your home or need a place to park your boat or RV? Store it all at Atlantic Self Storage. Over 50 locations in Northeast Florida. 24-hour access, all with month-to-month leases. Moving? They can help with supplies. They make storage easy. Go to AtlanticSelfStorage.com or call 877-WE-STORE to find a storage solution near you. Go Jags!
David Garrard here. Playing in the NFL can put a lot of wear and tear on your body. especially your knees. Southeast Orthopedic Specialist has kept me mobile and ready to tackle every day.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
David Garrard here. I've had the PRP treatment from Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, and my knees are really doing well. Platelet-rich plasma treatment may be the answer for whatever is hurting you.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Attention veterans, the Fed has done it. They've lowered interest rates the moment we've all been waiting for. And at Loan Pronto, they've lowered mortgage rates along with it. It's Prosser here for my friends at Loan Pronto. Listen, if you're a veteran with a current mortgage rate over 6%, Loan Pronto can do a streamlined refi, lowering your monthly payment with no income verification and no appraisal. Veterans can now access up to 100% of their home's equity and turn that into cash. You can get 50, 75, even 100 grand or more with no junk fees and no hassle with an APR in the low fives. So you can pay off all those credit cards, personal loans, and car loans. Veterans typically cut their monthly payments by $850. At Loan Pronto, they respect what you've done for our country, and we show it. Call now for a free rate quote with no credit pull. 904-999-1508. That's 904-999-1508 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781.
WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Hey, it's Tony from Tony D's Pizza. If you love our pizza and pasta dishes, let us cater an event for you. Family function or office parties, we can deliver you an amazing Italian meal. Remember, it's not just pizza at Tony D's. Bay Meadows in $2.95.
Navy Mutual was created by service members for service members, so we know what it means to serve. Our policies have no active duty service restrictions, so you can rest assured that you're covered no matter your duty station, home or abroad. To go even further, we promise that premiums will not be higher for those who serve in dangerous environments, including aviation, diving, or on deployments. Let us help you protect those you love the most. Learn more at NavyMutual.org.
Brian Wall here with Window World. You know that awesome feeling when you finally find that one place to go to that will give you a top quality product at a great price and then stand behind what they sell you? That's exactly what Window World does. Top quality, energy efficient windows at a great price that keeps more of your money in your bank account. With the absolute best guarantee in the window replacement business. That's why Window World has been the #1 window replacement company in the USA for years, selling more than 1 million windows each year for the past 8 years. That's a lot of satisfied customers, and you can be one too. Save money on installing new energy-efficient windows and save on your energy bills too. You can't lose. And if anything goes wrong with your new Window World windows ever, Window World and I will be there to make it right. Call Window World today or see them online and have them come and give you a free estimate and see why we are so proud of our products and the work we do for our customers. Call Window World or go online at windowworldneflorida.com. And thank you for your business.
Window World also offers energy-efficient doors.
This is Molly McDonald with your 1010XL Southeast Orthopedic Specialist Local Sports Update, brought to you by the YMCA. The Gators matchup this weekend will take them up to Rocky Top to take on Nico Iavamala, leading the Volunteers. Nico has proven to be one of the top new quarterbacks in the SEC and will challenge the Gators defense on Saturday. Head coach Billy Napier spoke on Nico and what impresses him most when watching him.
Yeah, I mean, he's a unicorn, man. This guy's 6'6", big, athletic. I mean, he's ripping balls in the outside third, 15, 20 yards deep. You know, he's throwing it all the vertical shots. He's got big-time arm. He's accurate. He can escape, extend. He's just a young player who's getting experience, and he'll continue to get better. A lot of hype around him, and I think on the tape, it's kind of, you can see why.
Napier also stated the Gators will have multiple plans in place this week for schedule disruptions due to Hurricane Milton. It's 84 degrees at 1 o'clock. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line.
Hello.
We can wiggle it.
We promised you an absolutely loaded Tuesday edition, an Active Health Jacks Tuesday here on Helmets and Heels on the Superstation. Mia O'Brien, Lauren Brooks, Taylor Dahl has the day off, and we keep a loaded Tuesday going with friend of the program, Luke Hetrick. You know him, you love him, anchor, reporter in the sports department at WSB up in the ATL. And fresh off, I believe, a Brent Key press conference at Georgia Tech. How are you, my friend?
You bet your bottom dollar. First off, ma'am, ladies, how are we doing today? But just getting the car loaded up after a Brent Key press conference. Big week for the Jackets taking on North Carolina, which if any of you out there are diehard Georgia Tech fans who just love some ACC drama, the thing that stands out about this game is it is Brent Key going up against his former boss in Jeff Collins, now the defensive coordinator at North Carolina. So a fun, intriguing matchup to kind of get the day started with a noon kick up in Chapel Hill.
Love it, love it. And, of course, Jeff Prosser is listening somewhere and pounding his fist in the air in honor of the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Before we pivot to Georgia, because that certainly is the news of the day, and they remain a top 5, top 10 outfit in the latest AP poll, Luke, give us a brief update. Georgia Tech vibes around the Jackets, not only for this weekend, but big picture in an ACC that Lauren and I talked about it last week. I mean, it's Miami's to lose at this point, but if Miami should lose, outside of Clemson, I'm not really sure who emerges from the field.
Yeah, I think with Georgia Tech right now, the vibe is you finally have some model consistency. You have stability within the program, which you haven't had in a while. And I think, with Jeff Collins, someone kind of had to be the sacrificial lamb, moving on from Paul Johnson and a triple option offense in a Power 4 conference. Trying to follow that up was really tough. It was very clear after the first year that Jeff Collins just wasn't the guy for Georgia Tech. And now you have Brent Key that's come in, an alum, someone who understands Georgia Tech, and someone who just wants to be here. That's the most important thing. He was the offensive line coach under Nick Saban at Alabama, and he chose to come to Georgia Tech. So you finally have someone who loves this program, who understands it, who feels really good about it. And at 4-2, you look at them and say, man, they're a bad quarter away from being 5-1, arguably 6-0, a blocked field goal away from being 6-0. They have not beaten themselves, which is something that we haven't been able to say in many years. So right now at 4-2, you feel good. There's a huge matchup looming next week. Mercedes-Benz Stadium, 3:30 kick against Notre Dame. They take on Carolina this weekend, a team that they have owned and had a lot of success, whether it be Jeff Collins or Brent Key. But going into that game 5-2 really puts Tech back on a national stage with some interest. We haven't seen it since the Florida State game. So definitely a huge couple weeks for them, and then that schedule is absolutely backloaded. This is a team that if stars align, things go right, they can get to 8, maybe even 9 wins. But it's going to be very difficult to do with Notre Dame, Miami, and Georgia left on the schedule.
Speaking of Georgia, Luke, a couple of storylines coming out of Athens. One, you've got the fact that Kirby Smart pretty much called out the fans and said that they weren't energetic enough in the Dogs' win over Auburn. And then the other storyline is that Colby Young was arrested. And so this is a different arrest than driving. He was arrested on battery and assault charges, but it is another player arrested. So can you talk about both of those?
Yeah, I'll start with Colby Young. The driving issues have been well documented. They've handled those pretty much all the same. Daniel Harris was the most recent reckless driving arrest within the program. That was back in mid-September. He did not play in the Kentucky game, which was the game the next day. He did travel and dress for that game. So how they've handled driving issues differs from anything like we've seen. So the only precedent we have in this situation this year under Kirby Smart with a similar situation to Colby Young was Ra Thomas, who was arrested on multiple counts of family violence, assault back in the summer. It was his second arrest. He had already been suspended from the team with a felony charge prior. So that was sort of the last straw. So what we know right now with Colby Young is a misdemeanor, and we will see how Kirby chooses to handle it from there. But right now, whatever the charges are, whether it be reckless driving, battery, assault, family violence, it's an embarrassment for the program. It's an embarrassment for the University of Georgia. It has to stop. It hasn't. At some point, there has to be more ownership and accountability taken. Kirby does not discuss injuries. He does not discuss suspensions. They say they handle that internally. He's been pressed recently on the growing number of incidents and arrests, and he has taken the accountability for it. But at some point, this all has to change because it is really hard to give that program a ton of credibility when people are sending these kids there to change their lives, to better themselves, and things like this continue to happen. I shouldn't say things like this because, this is the second, but a program that cannot seem to stay out of trouble, very, very concerning. And as far as the other question with Kirby Smart calling out the fans, that was a tactic. They're taking on 1-4 Mississippi State this week. It's a big recruiting weekend. Based on how the schedule aligned for Georgia, September they had really one chance to bring in recruits, and that was for Tennessee Tech. With Auburn and Mississippi State in consecutive weeks, they landed a big-time recruit and commit last week in Usmani Kroma from Lee County, a running back commit, 4-star, so that was big for them. This is going to be their other big recruiting weekend until you really get to, I believe, Tennessee in mid-November. So this was something about creating the environment, having it be big, having it be, the atmosphere that he wants. It was very much a tactic. Nothing comes out of Kirby Smart's mouth at a microphone that isn't calculated and planned. And that is what you're going to get this weekend, is just trying to reignite the fan base into being really loud for a team that you're favored by 5 scores over.
Chess, not checkers, for one Kirby Smart. Luke Hetrick, our guest on the Garber Auto Mall hotline. You can find him on X at LH Sports TV. Does a great job, of course, covering Georgia, Georgia Tech, the Falcons, so much more up at WSB in the ATL. Let's stay with the Dogs, though, Luke. You noted it, and I know you've been really tapping into the recruiting side of things at WSB of late with all the SEC coverage that you guys do. They do host Mississippi State this weekend, then the big one when they travel to Austin to play Texas before a bye week and then the cocktail party. Vibes surrounding the program, independent of the Colby Young arrest. Does this feel like a program that is carrying the weight of the world on its shoulders, or in light of the Alabama situation from over the weekend, maybe feels like it's playing with the little house money right now?
Kirby has reiterated so much over the last couple weeks how hard it is to win in the SEC, and he's done that before. But he's doing it more this season, that every game's tough. He really did it for Auburn, who he kept saying, I feel like they're a 5-0 team outside of the turnovers. They're a 5-0 team. I think Kirby understands the margins are thinner, and this isn't the same Georgia team that we've seen the last couple years. 2023, that could have been, from an offensive perspective, right up there with 22. I mean, they were up there in explosive plays. They had one of the ultimate weapons. You could argue the best skill player in college football in Brock Bowers. Ladd McConkey never got the credit he deserved for being a stable, dependent, and eventually a big play wide receiver. So they were able to maul teams, and they were able to put teams away early. But they didn't really do that when you look in SEC play until about the midway through the season. They did it early last year against Kentucky, and then when it came to the Florida game, that's when you saw them turn it on. They had some struggles in SEC play early against Auburn last year and South Carolina. They've done that this year. They lose to Alabama but have the huge second half. So you find that this offense can be explosive. And then against Auburn, Kirby had said they want to try and cut it loose. Play with no fear. Play with no anxiety. But we all hear cut it loose and think, throw it down the field. Have the big plays. Put this game away early, and they haven't done that. I don't know how capable this team is of doing that. The schedule outside of this weekend is going to be a test for them. So it'll be interesting to see if they're able to put a team away that they should and how they respond going to Austin. This is still a team that very much will be in the thick of things in the playoffs, in the SEC championship race, and even in the national title picture. But it's just, what type of team are we getting out of Georgia this year? We don't know. So far, it's been from an offensive perspective, is Carson Beck has to be very efficient, get the ball out quick. That's been their best bet to win because they have not run the ball well at all.
Yeah, I think that's been the most surprising thing, is that with Trevor Etienne leaving Florida, going to Georgia, they still haven't, and I know he missed a game early, but they still haven't been able to get that run game going as much as I thought they would, because I went to Florida, so I watched every play of Trevor Etienne's career to this point, and I thought he was really, really talented. So then, of course, you have that defensive collapse against Alabama in the first half, and so I do think Georgia's still trying to figure it out, Luke.
They absolutely are. And with that Alabama game, I'll go to that first. Alabama had two very strong opening drives in that game. And then from the rest of the half, they were spotted a short field on a Carson Beck interception, two short fields on turnovers, and were able to capitalize on that. So it wasn't like they had four consecutive long sustaining drives that ended up in touchdowns. Georgia spotted them on the final two touchdowns of that first half with short fields based on turnover and even got a safety in that half as well. But with Trevor Etienne, they found different ways to use him so far. You saw him have, I believe, 6 catches out of the backfield. They were just going to commit to running it on the ground just to keep that defense honest. But we also have to remember with Georgia, they had a center this year that they were breaking in Jared Wilson, replacing a guy, Cedric Van Granger, who's now in the NFL, one of the best leaders from an offensive line perspective we saw the last couple years in the sport. He is now injured, Jared Wilson. Tate Ratledge, a guy that will be a first-round pick, a guy that started over 30 games in his career at Georgia, has suffered a significant injury. He's out. They've shifted that offensive line, and Kirby has pointed out they lack some depth there at that position to begin with. Last year, they could roll 9 deep. This year, not so much. So that definitely has an impact. And you're going up against two very talented defensive lines in the last couple weeks. And really, even Kentucky, an excellent defensive line. So running the football in SEC play has been a challenge. Georgia always does it running back by committee. They try and ride the hot hand. It's been Trevor Etienne mainly because of his versatility, his ability to, like you said, you saw him at Florida, be that game breaker and then also catch the ball out of the backfield. So I expect a much more productive day running the football, but it's something they got to establish once they get into the teeth of things with Texas, Florida, and then Tennessee. And Ole Miss in there as well.
Yeah, that's quite the murderer's row, but perhaps this weekend is exactly what the doctor ordered, a opportunity to get Trevor Etienne over 100 yards for the first time this season, the first time in a Georgia uniform, for the run game to go over 100 yards for the first time in, a while, or at least have a single running back, a lead running back, I suppose, go over 100 yards for the first time this year. Yeah, exactly. Mississippi State, the cure-all. Ask Dan Mullen. He'll tell you more about it. Hey, thank you so much, friend of the program, Luke Hetrick. He's always on speed dial. Again, you can find him on X at LH Sports TV and at WSB TV. Thank you, my friend. We will talk soon.
Always a pleasure. Thank you so much for the time, as always.
And, of course, Luke Hetrick joining us on the Garber Auto Mall hotline. It's interesting, Lauren, because when you go through the schedule so far, I think an undersold point that we didn't even address with Luke is the fact that this Georgia defense has given up 3 points, 3 points, 12 points, nail biter for sure, 41 to Alabama, and 13 points to Auburn this weekend. Once again, the defense is not the issue, but with Carson Beck, the largely regarded Heisman preseason frontrunner at the helm of this offense, and with ETN transferring in this offseason, I think there was a notion, kind of like here in Jacksonville, that it doesn't matter if they lost a lot on defense because they're just going to reload there and they're going to outscore everyone, and they have not up to this point.
Yeah, the offense has been a slow starting offense, just like we saw a year ago. And look, we shouldn't be surprised. Ladd McConkey's not there anymore. Brock Bowers isn't there anymore. Those were two of the go-to guys, certainly, for Carson Beck. And so, yeah, the offensive line, like you mentioned, they had Drew Bobo start this past week at center, Mike Bobo's son. And he played fine. I wouldn't say great, but he played fine. But, yeah, they've had to shuffle some stuff.
The Ratledge loss is significant. I'm glad Luke brought that up because that's something that I think when we talk about the run game struggles, you need to go there first and foremost.
Yeah, that's a big loss. A couple hurricane updates for you as far as Milton is concerned. The winds have increased by 5 miles per hour, but the forward speed has slowed down. So that means the center of the storm was once projected to be in the center of the state early morning Thursday. It's now more like 7 or 8 a.m. on Thursday. St. Johns County has issued mandatory evacuations for zones A, B, and F, and Putnam County recommends evacuations for zones A and F. Obviously, you can find out more information on any of the news channel websites. Here locally, just wanted to mention those as we go along. If you're not sure what your zone is, you can also find that out online. Taylor has a tangent when we return. Like Mia said earlier in the program, it'll be something related to Aaron Rodgers. No surprise there. You're listening to Helmets and Heels on an Active Health Jacks Tuesday on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Helmets and Heels. This hour is brought to you by First Coast Honda Dealers.
Watch 1010XL Weekly is your one-stop shop for all things Jags, college ball, preps, and more. Subscribe to our newsletter today, and you'll be entered to win free tickets to the Packers game this October. To subscribe, just head on over to 1010XL.com and scroll down to the 1010XL Weekly flash page.
Hey, Scarline here. If you're like me in the fall, you want to watch football, not clean. Enter Molly Maid, voted Bold City Best Cleaning Service 3 years in a row. Molly Maid is reliable, friendly, and thorough. Visit mollymaid.com.
Mia here, and when I was buying a new construction home last summer, there was no question. Dreamfinders Homes was the builder for me. A big reason why? Their unbeatable interest rates. Right now, you can take advantage of a 2.99% year one rate. Find your dream home, take advantage of unbeatable rates, and move in today. I'll say it again, 2.99% year one rate. Dreamfinders Homes, the official home builder of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Bueller Air and Plumbing presents Are You Cool?
Today's contestant, a gravy taster from Jacksonville, Florida, me, Dennis Mosley.
Hi, Ken.
Okay, Dennis. 100 plumbers surveyed, top answer on the board. What does it mean if someone says your home has hard water?
It's made of ice? Let's see. Hard water. Oh, is it club soda mixed 4-to-1 with vodka?
Last chance, Dennis. What is hard water?
Oh, is it that lime scale stuff that makes my taps all crusty?
That's right, Dennis. And a water treatment system from Bueller Air and Plumbing will eliminate troublesome lime scale deposits that can ruin your expensive appliances and let your neighbors know for sure that you are cool.
I wonder if I can get me a gin and tonic faucet.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Before termites attack your home or business and cause costly damage, Terminix it. At Terminix, we know how to stop termites. These destructive pests have been around for millions of years, but before they show up, so do we. And their time is up. Don't live with a termite problem? Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TerMinix.com. TerMinix.com. Terminix it.
Universal Roof and Contracting presents the Offensive Player of the Game. Universal Roof and Contracting. The difference is universal.
Brian Thomas Jr. was special on Sunday in Houston. The teal and black wideout recorded 86 yards on 6 receptions and added in a touchdown in what was a stellar showing. The young rookie shined like the superstar that he is, and there's plenty of excitement to see what's next for him. Brian Thomas Jr. is your Universal Roof and Contracting Offensive Player of the Game.
Rake in the savings this fall with Universal Roof and Contracting. Enjoy 15% off all roof repairs and replacements with financing options as low as $115 a month. Protecting your home has never been easier. Schedule your free roof inspection today. Call 855-ROOF-HELP. This offer expires October 31st. Protect your home and your wallet. License number CCC 057165, CBC 1258484.
UniversalRoof.com.
Hey everybody, Jennifer Marion with Randy Marion Cadillac in Jacksonville here to say hello, and we'd sure like to have your business.
You know what? They're going to love the king of price.
My dad believes in making great deals and having a great selection in stock.
Cadillac XT4s, XT5s, and XT6s, and Escalades.
The all-electric Cadillac Lyriq.
CT4s and CT5s.
Cadillac luxury and selection is just waiting for you.
At Randy Marion Cadillac, Southside Boulevard, Jacksonville.
And don't forget, tell them Jennifer sent ya.
When you're injured, you probably have more questions than answers, and all you really want is to feel better. This is Joe C., and I certainly can identify. Well, thanks to Rebound Rehab, I bounced back from a serious case of ankle tendonitis to feel pain-free, and they can do the same for you. 8 locations across the First Coast and a team of physical therapists ready to help. From laser and radio pressure wave therapy to aquatic and massage therapy, they can offer real solutions to help you rebound. Log on, reboundrehab.com, and start your path back to pain-free life.
Hey, Jacksonville Koozies, it's me, Soccer Sam, for Salvatore's Pizza. Rochester, New York's favorite pizza is now open in Jacksonville, Florida, Tapestry Park at the Loft Hotel Plaza. Daily $10 deals, dine in with beer and wine, and delivery at salvatores.com. The famous Formoso family brings Salvatore's Pizza, Rochester's favorite pizza, including our 32-piece sheet pizza for your next event. Go with me, baby. Salvatores.com.
It's the Gator Podcast Channel with Frank Frangie and me, Dan Hicken, on all things Gators. Hacker and Denny Thompson have Gator Bites, and you can find them wherever you find podcasts or at 1010XL.com. Presented by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Our slogan, Know Before You Blow, applies to more than just DUI cases. Hi, I'm attorney Lee Lockett of Lockett Law. Battery charges can result in jail time and criminal convictions too, so know before you blow a gasket and hit a loved one or a stranger. Drug crimes like possession of marijuana and cocaine will land you in cuffs too, so know before you blow. In a boating under the influence case, you also have the option to blow or not to blow. So know your options. Know before you blow. Go to knowbeforeyouBlow.com now. Offices Jacksonville.
SportsForecaster.com has all the data you need to project tomorrow's winners. Register for free and track the performance of all your favorite players and teams, including all your fantasy team picks and prospects. Sports Forecaster has the most detailed player profiles on the web, precise depth charts, every transaction, every injury, every news update. No ranting or raving, no preening or barstool bluster. At SportsForecaster.com, you get the timely info you need for every game. SportsForecaster.com. Sign up for free today.
Family owned and managed for 20 years, Hidden Hills Golf Club boasts a unique and welcoming golfing atmosphere. Visit us at hiddenhillsgc.com to book your next round on our Arnold Palmer signature course. You'll be glad you did.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Helmets and Heels is switched on by
First Coast Lighting and Fans.
Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor on 1010XL.
Mia O'Brien, RJ Saunders, I'm Lauren Brooks with you on this Active Health Jacks Tuesday. Taylor Dahl will be back from vacation tomorrow, but she still has an opinion today. Take it away, RJ.
Now, Taylor's Tangent, served up by Chick-fil-A on 1010XL.
Well, we have our first NFL head coach firing. This name has sat atop the list even in the preseason. When we went over the list in the preseason, I said it was strange. I thought they were going to kind of scapegoat and use him as an excuse, even if it totally wasn't. But the first head coach firing took place today as the Jets fired Robert Saleh. And the Jets started 2-3 so far this year, losing to the 49ers, the Broncos, and the Vikings while beating the Titans and the Patriots. This is just kind of wild to me. 5 weeks into the season seems early anyways, especially when it doesn't, to me, feel like it's an absolute disaster when it comes to a full product. But the main reason to me is because you brought a quarterback in who was supposed to be saving your organization, and honestly, he's massively underperformed. Aaron Rodgers, in his recent game against the Vikings, threw 3 interceptions and 2 touchdowns. 3 interceptions and 2 touchdowns. But yeah, it's Robert Saleh's fault. For 2 weeks straight, he's completed under 60% of his passes, 53.7% and 57.1 to be exact. He has 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions in that 2-game span. And honestly, he's had actually probably 1 good game this season, and that was against the Patriots when the Jets won 24-3. Outside of that, he's been honestly pretty bad, or at least below average. But we know the history between Aaron Rodgers and Nathaniel Hackett, and there have for sure been some play calling issues this season. And so that's even more so what seems just kind of weird. It's just odd to fire the head coach when the 2 things that seem to be the biggest issue through 5 weeks have been play calling and the quarterback. And Robert Saleh is not the play caller, but I don't know. It's just odd. They've got the talent offensively. You had this quarterback who you thought at least could just, even on his bad days, get you through, and it's not working. When the defense is honestly pretty solid when you go back and see the points they've allowed. And even against the Vikings, who have been just absolutely throttling people for the most part, they were able to contain them. But that's just another tale of Aaron Rodgers getting a coach fired.
Taylor Doll. She always keeps me laughing. But she does bring up a good point that, in case you missed it, Will Parkinson of Turn on the Jets podcast joined us in the 12 o'clock hour. And, of course, being in the building, he broke it down even further. The idea of, not too unlike Doug Peterson last year saying he would have more of a hand on the defensive side of the ball, Lauren, that Robert Saleh said before the start of this season that he would have more of a hand on the offensive side of the ball, that he is not the one calling plays on defense. That is now interim head coach and defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich. He is the one who has orchestrated this defense to be a top 5, top 10 unit over the better part of the last 3 years. And so, look, I mean, I was surprised when Will said to us that this is the spark that this team thinks, or at the very least, upper management thinks they need to create because they are in a win-now window. It's an interesting route, but I never looked at it as a spark. I looked at it as, to Taylor's point, quite simply, Aaron Rodgers isn't happy with this guy, and so therefore he must go.
That's what it seems like. There are always interesting layers of these kinds of stories. And so, that, like we talked about with Will, you go back to OTAs. And when Aaron Rodgers missed a couple days, he's on a new team, or I shouldn't say that. It's his second year with the team, but he barely played last year. He played 4 snaps and then tore his Achilles. So it felt like he was with this new team. And instead of going through the entire offseason program with them, he decides to go to Egypt. That was a curious decision.
It also may or may not speak to accountability.
Right. And so therefore, when Saleh met with reporters, he was kind of like, yeah, it's not a great look. And so instead of being like, I've got Aaron's back, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, this was planned, but you still didn't like it. Look, at the end of the day, Robert Saleh, we all knew, unless the Jets were going to have a winning season, he was probably going to be out. We just didn't expect it to happen 5 games into the season.
Yeah. And yes, to those of you on the text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures, you knew Taylor wasn't going to miss this opportunity. Taylor's absolute hatred for Ron is glorious, and I'm here for it. Mm-hmm. I mean, look, it's to the point of 910 on the text line. Firing a guy because you gave him Zach Wilson and a busted Aaron Rodgers is insane. That's where I just can't come away from this situation, Lauren, and not feel like Robert Saleh is the scapegoat because someone had to go. Not too unlike, ironically enough, in 2018 when you knew Doug Marrone, Dave Caldwell, and Tom Coughlin weren't going anywhere. And so the scapegoats were Nathaniel Hackett, who was then fired as the Jaguars OC, and Blake Bortles. Yes, the offense was a problem, but it wasn't the problem, so to speak. I mean, look, it was probably the biggest problem back then in 2018. Make no mistake about it. But this Jets team is even different than that, because their offense is the problem. The defense is doing the best it can out here to keep them above water.
The Jets have the same record and have scored the exact same amount of points through the first 5 games with Aaron Rodgers that they did with Zach Wilson.
Right.
93 points through 5 games. And yes, he had Zach Wilson, he had Tim Boyle, he had Joe Flacco. Robert Saleh was not gifted a great quarterback because a lot of us thought Rodgers is past his prime. And again, especially after the Achilles injury. But they decided to ride with him, and so that's what obviously Jets owner Woody Johnson has decided as well, to take Rodgers' side, and we'll see how it goes. All right, right now we've got lunch for 2, lunch on the ladies presented by Chick-fil-A. If you would like to win, be caller number 2 at 641-1010. Call number 2, 641-1010. Great job by Taylor Dahl on her tangent. We've got 1 segment to go here on Helmets and Heels on an Active Health Jacks Tuesday. Visit them online at activehealthjacks.com or give them a call, 904-296-0202. That's what Hayden Hurst did, and that's what you can do as well. It's 1010XL, 92.5 FM.
This is Helmets and Heels.
This hour is brought to you by First Coast Honda Dealers.
Mia here. Have you been betting and winning at MyBookie.com? If you haven't bet with MyBookie yet, they are still running the double deposit bonus. Just sign up with promo code 1010XL. We are on to week 6 in the NFL, a ton of college matchups that run through the weekend. Get some skin in the game on all of these elite matchups. You should certainly have your eye on that spread for Florida, Tennessee Saturday night. You know that we play the Bears Sunday on NFL over in London, and we're probably going to be a slight underdog here in Duval County. If you think the Jags can win in London, bet it. The Surging Commanders, meanwhile, play the Ravens in a DMV battle. The Cowboys play the Lions. And for Sunday Night Football, Bengals traveling to New York to play the Giants. For a limited time, MyBookie still has that double deposit bonus. Use promo code 1010XL to claim a bonus that doubles your money on your very first deposit up to $1,000. Double your money with promo code 1010XL before you even place a bet. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie.
Hey, Jacksonville, Taylor Dahl here of Helmets and Heels. Chick-fil-A is introducing their new banana pudding milkshake that's here to enjoy. The seasonal treat features a Chick-fil-A ice cream dessert mixed with bananas and vanilla wafer cookie crumbles. It's a perfect sweet spin on a classic shake. The banana pudding milkshake is here for a limited time, so stop by your local Chick-fil-A restaurant and treat yourself today.
Guys, feeling deflated in the bedroom? ED, low T, no energy? If your stuff is broken, call 904-STROKEN or 904stroken.com. No shots and the first treatment now free. Fix your ED at 904stroken.com.
When you show your home love with a natural gas water heater, it loves you right back with more cost-efficient, endless hot water.
Hon, hurry it up, please.
And right now, you'll love earning a cash rebate up to $700 when you install an energy-efficient natural gas water heater.
We're going to be late again.
What? Did you say something, hon?
To learn more and how to qualify, visit peoplesgas.com/rebates.
If you suffer from constant burning, tingling, or numbness in your hands or feet, it could be a serious condition called neuropathy. I'm Dr. Nathan Riddle, DC with Riddle Wellness in Ponte Vedra. Neuropathy is treatable, and we have seen great results by using state-of-the-art, non-invasive therapies to target damaged nerves, reduce symptoms, and improve nerve function. Call 904-395-5598 to schedule your free consultation today and learn how you can live pain-free. Call 904-395-5598.
Hacker here, and I can't believe it. 100 pounds gone. 6 months ago, I never would have dreamed this was possible. I'm going to say it again because it feels so good. I've dropped 100 pounds thanks to Awaken 180 weight loss. To put that in perspective, I've taken roughly 10 inches off my waist. I'm down from a XXX to an XL, and I did it all in slightly over 6 months. It's not just about the number on the scale. It's also about getting my life back, playing with my son, and being more physically active. Now we're celebrating big time. I'm hosting an exclusive football watch party to celebrate this huge milestone, and you'll have a chance to join me. Let's watch some football, eat some great food, and if you have questions about Awaken 180, ask me. Details to come, but don't wait on that. Call Awaken 180 today and learn how fast you can reach your goals. 844-346-1800 or online, awaken180weightloss.com.
DivorceMenOnly.com. This is Kenny Lay of Kenny Lay & Associates. Our firm specializes in representing men in family law. That's all we do. That's our only focus. We can help with all of your family law needs, such as divorce, custody, alimony, and child support. For over a decade, we have helped thousands of men with these types of issues. We even have an appellate division ready to challenge a judge's ruling. If you need a family law attorney, go to DivorceMenOnly.com. DivorceMenOnly.com. Offices, Jacksonville.
1010XL celebrates high scorers.
1010XL and Southeast Orthopedic Specialists celebrate scholar athletes.
In class and on the court.
Brought to you by the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Local Union 234. Wednesdays on The Frangie Show.
Now that's what I call high-quality H2O.
If you want high-quality water in your home at a fair price that won't scare you to death, then talk to someone who knows water and is not a pushy salesman. Contact your local water boy, Keith. I install premium equipment and can repair or even rebuild your existing system. In a business known for aggressive sales tactics, let me show you how my approach is different. If you've got any water problems, contact the water boy at waterboyjack.com.
In its final year, we encourage you to help create great futures for young people when you run or walk at Mackenzie's Run, Saturday, November 23rd. Join Boys and Girls Club of Northeast Florida for a 5K and 1 mile fun run through the beautiful stadium course at TPC Sawgrass. Enjoy food, live music, face painting, family fun, and more at our Runners Village. Register at mackenziesrun.org. Mackenzie's 5K and Fun Run, November 23rd. mackenziesrun.org.
Hi, I'm Mac with Baker Glass. If you've got fogged up windows, let me help. We'll replace them with clear, insulated units that brighten up your home. People say we're fast, friendly, and reliable. Just check out our Google reviews. Call me today. Baker Glass. No one treats you better.
Prosser here. I've been telling you for years about Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring. Football season finally upon us. Imagine watching your favorite team in your new Lifetime Man Cave, family hangout, or Lifetime's version of a she shed. And now Lifetime is expanding their replacement window division. Make your home energy efficient with their Energy Star rated windows, enclosures, flooring, and windows to fit any and all budgets. Visit the showroom just off Phillips Highway. Proud partners of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let Lifetime be your home team.
This is Dr. Kevin Kaplan, head team physician for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Here's the latest update on the Jags, brought to you by Baptist Health and JOI.
Jaguars analyst Jeff Lageman on his evaluation so far of Eric Armstead.
I wish that they would play him more as a 3 technique, as a defensive tackle than an edge player, because, the reality is this. When he's playing edge, he's an average edge player right now. When he's inside, and historically when he's been inside, he has been way above average. Not quite understanding of why he's playing more edge than he is more interior. I mean, maybe it's going to work. Maybe he's going to get better. He's working his way back. But right now, I think he's playing a little bit out of position.
Jeff Lageman with Jaguars Today on Eric Armstead. I'm Andrew Gibson with your Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute Jaguars update.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, the cool down from the cool guys at Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing. Fast, reliable, and honest service since '87.
Our hope here on Helmets and Heels each and every day, not only on Active Jacks Health. I'm butchering names now, Laura. Active Health Jacks Tuesday. Words are hard. I'm trying to rattle through some stats, and so I'm so focused on those numbers, I'm forgetting words. And Active Health Jacks Tuesday, our hope each and every day is that we provide you with a little insight, a little something, not just from your hometown team, but from across the National Football League, college football, the sports world at large. Think we did that today. Our thanks to Will Parkinson of the Turn on the Jets podcast for joining us again in the 12 o'clock hour. Luke Hetrick of WSB up in Atlanta for joining us in the 1 o'clock hour. With that said, not a ton of Jaguars talk, so let's cool down with some stats that I think you Duval fans out there will appreciate. I have one quarterback in the National Football League who has thrown for 904 yards. That's good for 22nd in the National Football League. He has thrown 6 touchdowns to 5 interceptions and has a QBR of 50.8. That is 19th in the National Football League. That's quarterback A. Quarterback B has thrown for 1,100 yards. That's 13th in the NFL. He also has thrown for 6 touchdowns, so just 2 interceptions, and has a 53.1 QBR. He is 1 spot ahead of quarterback A, 18th in the National Football League. Lauren, do you have any guesses of who quarterback A and quarterback B are?
I'm going to guess Caleb Williams and Trevor Lawrence.
Nope, you are correct on quarterback B. That is indeed Trevor Lawrence. We'll give you a ding for that. Quarterback A, RJ Saunders, Lauren Brooks. 904 passing yards, 22nd in the league, 6 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. The 19th best QBR in the league is Patrick Mahomes. Now, the numbers don't exactly tell the whole story. Of course, Mahomes is the quarterback of a team that is 5-0, and as you alluded to earlier in the program, when we looked back at last night's Monday Night Football game, Lauren, it's a Chiefs team that right now, its offense is doing enough, and its defense remains elite, and that's a big reason they are 5-0 so far this season, in addition to probably having a golden horseshoe shoved up their butt for different moments of the last 5 weeks, and getting lucky here and there. The reality is that Patrick Mahomes is currently ranked 22nd in passing yards. He's tied for 12th in touchdowns. He is tied for 58th with 5 interceptions. That is 1 off the league worst, and 19th in QBR.
How many yards did you say he's thrown for?
904.
So I think that was before last night. Because I'm looking at his stats. He's got 1,235 passing yards.
Dang it, Lauren!
I'm sorry.
All right, the point being...
But he has 6 touchdowns, 6 picks, so that's not good for him.
He did throw 1 more interception. Thank you. Yes, thank you, RJ. Man, oh man. Okay, let me throw a couple more stats your way then. We got to end on a positive note. This is from Next Gen Stats. Their QB stat of the week, Joe Flacco's 18.76 miles per hour.
Lightning
That was
fast.
his fastest speed as a ball carrier since 2016. And in better news, the running back stat of the week, Tank Bigsby, plus 68, 20.93. Plus 68, expected to gain. He was expected to gain -3 yards on the handoff of that touchdown run. So plus 68. The numbers, the Zebra tracker had him expected to gain -3 yards. He turned it into a 65-yard touchdown run. So that's plus 68. He also hit a top speed of 20.93, his fastest speed as a ball carrier of his career.
And Kyle Brandt on Good Morning Football gave him the scepter because he had the angry runs, if you're not familiar with that. Kyle Brandt loves to award people with what he calls the angry runs, and that is somebody who is getting more yards after contact than should be expected. And so certainly Tank Bigsby on his touchdown run when Ezra Cleveland was helping him out blocking ahead of him, but he basically just refused to go down, taking blockers with him or taking tacklers with him, defenders with him. Yeah, that was an impressive run, and so Kyle Brandt had to award him for that. Look, I'll cool down with something that I think is certainly a major storyline in the NFL, and that is the fact that the Commanders are 4-1. Jaden Daniels as a rookie quarterback has been insane, and people, I certainly don't think many people expected the Commanders to be this good at this point in time, this early in the season. And look, I had him in the playoffs just because I did think that Jaden Daniels is a guy that could come into this league and be good right away because of how much experience he had at LSU. And look, when you play in the SEC, I'm sure some people would say the Big Ten as well. Certainly you experience and you face defenses that are just as fast, just as powerful, just as strong as a lot of the guys in the NFL. So to me, Jaden Daniels was certainly going to be a guy that was going to be a really good rookie. Like I said, I didn't know that they'd be 4-1 to this point, but I thought he'd be super talented. I thought he was super talented. I thought they'd be super good.
Yeah, I'm kicking myself now because I had some contemporaries on the beat here in Jacksonville trying to tell me that, no, the Commanders are going to be a dumpster fire. It's not the cohesive synergy that you need between a young Adam Peters as the GM, progressive coming from San Francisco, a players coach in Dan Quinn who doesn't run a defense that Peters is used to finding talent for out in San Fran. I took the bait. I should have listened to people like you, Lauren.
Well, but it's still early, like I said, and they've beaten...
You know that they're not going to have to get on a plane for if they didn't want to, they don't have to get on a plane for 8 weeks or 9 weeks or something like that.
Makes sense because they travel to Baltimore this Sunday, then they're home, and then they are home again, and then they go to New York. So yeah, and then they go to Pittsburgh, and then
they
Philadelphia,
go to Philly,
or they're home against Pittsburgh and then Philly. So yeah, they could bust it up. But I
mean, December when they go to New Orleans, they could bust to New York and they could bust to Philly.
Yeah, they haven't beaten any teams with a winning record, I don't believe, because they've beaten the Giants. They've beaten the Bengals, they've beaten the Cardinals, and they've beaten the Browns. So yeah, they haven't beaten any teams with winning records. So it's not like, wow, they beat the Bengals and the Bengals are 4-1. It's not obviously like that. The Bengals are struggling. And so it is still early, but Jaden Daniels, with what he's able to do, I mean, he's the best rookie quarterback we've seen in quite some time this early in the season. He's thrown for over 1,100 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 picks, 77% completion percentage, and that's down because against the Browns, he only completed 56% of his passes. Before that, he had completed 70%, 79%, 91%, and 86%. That is insane to me.
Yeah, and look, it's validation for those young wide receivers. Poor Jahan Dotson jettisoned away before the season could begin.
Yeah.
It's validation and just vindication for Terry McLaurin and for all of the playmakers, the fact that they brought in Austin Eckler, who the Chargers, with the regime change, essentially just left out there waving in the wind. And for those guys, the fact that they went out, I think one of the more underrated signings, going out and getting Tyler Biadasz out of Dallas, bringing him with Dan Quinn, not just defensive players with Dan Quinn like Dante Fowler, but bringing that center of veteran presence for Jaden Daniels off the jump. I think that's a huge acquisition that maybe we overlooked. And certainly the signings they made in free agency were ones that I would give a parallel to the Jaguars in 2022 when Doug Peterson arrived and the Jaguars went on their quote-unquote shopping spree for Christian Kirk, for Zay Jones, for Brandon Scherf, for Foye Oluokun, with this idea of, look, we know we're starting from ground zero largely. We know we are going to have a rookie quarterback who's going to have some real big highs and potentially could have some big lows. And so we need to bring a veteran presence that is all in on the mission that we are bringing and the culture we are bringing to Washington. we need that to fill those holes while we continue to fortify this roster.
So obviously the Jaguars play the Bears at 9:30 Sunday morning. Do you know the two games we have at 1 o'clock in the AFC South? Because they are good ones.
Yeah, hit me.
The 2-3 Colts taking on the 1-3 Titans. So I say good ones just because we're focused on the rest of the division. And then the Texans 4-1 at the 1-4 Patriots. That one obviously not as good. It does feel like the Texans could win. But if the Patriots can upset the Texans, and I guess we're rooting for the Titans at this point because the Jaguars haven't played the Titans yet. The Jaguars have beaten the Colts. Colts have a little bit of a better record. Either way, I think that game could be interesting moving forward.
3 of those 4 teams could have new quarterbacks, or at least not the quarterback they began the season with. That's the storyline I'll be watching for in the AFC South, Lauren.
Drake May, because then the Jaguars take on the Patriots the week after.
Correct. So, which I want Drake May to play this weekend. Because you do not want the whole he's making his first start. No one knows how to prepare for him because no one's really seen that much on tape. Let him go upset the Texans. Let him shock the world. Again, the Texans have 4 wins this season. They are all by 1 possession. At some point in time, there is always regression to the mean. If that's this year or next year, that part remains to be seen. But that would be a fascinating upset for certain, especially with no Nico Collins expected with the hamstring injury. And as far as Colts-Titans go, let's make our predictions now, 5 days out, Lauren. Who's starting for the Colts? Who's starting for the Titans? Let's take, even with the injuries in play,
right?
If you are Brian Callahan, if you are Shane Steichen, who are you starting at quarterback?
If I'm Shane Steichen, despite the fact that today he said that Anthony Richardson is our quarterback as soon as he's healthy, I still think that Joe Flacco starts on Sunday. I think they're going to give AR a little bit more time. And again, that can change. We have to see the practice report when it comes out tomorrow. And then for Tennessee, I think Levis is still hurt, and I think they play Mason Rudolph against the Colts. And so I think we have Joe Flacco v. Mason Rudolph. And I again, because there are injuries involved, these aren't benchings, there are injuries involved, I think they go that route.
Yeah, and look, I when I saw the report yesterday about Will Levis with the AC joint, and they're like, yeah, if all progresses well, he could play on Sunday. I'm like, they are coming off of a bye. That says to me he showed up for work this week, and they were like, ooh, maybe this isn't as good a situation health-wise as we thought.
And didn't Richardson have the AC joint last year?
Yes.
Wasn't that his first injury?
Yes, that was the first injury.
Yeah.
Yes, and I think also with Anthony,
he missed time.
Right, and with Anthony, to your point, I think so much of this, not too unlike the Jaguars when it comes to Tyson Campbell or Foye Oluokun, the Colts have been bit by the injury bug under this administration before, and they have seen Anthony Richardson get banged up and the injuries pile up before, and so that's why it's one of those things where maybe they believe at 2-3, they still have a chance at this thing. And so why waste Anthony Richardson and potentially expose him to another injury? And that's the mindset. It's not the fact that Joe Flacco is out here throwing for 350 yards, no picks, and gives you the better chance to win the football game, in my opinion.
Yeah, and as far as Tennessee goes, I mean, if Levis is healthy, like I said, obviously he's starting. The question is, will he be healthy with the shoulder injury? They're saying that he's expected to practice this week and that he's improving. So it would be fascinating as far as the viewership standpoint to see Anthony Richardson be able to play for the Colts, to see Will Levis play for the Titans, because you want to see what these two quarterbacks can do if they truly are the future for those franchises. And obviously, as far as the Texans go, C.J. Stroud is just out here going, yeah, I'm probably the best quarterback in this division. Trevor Lawrence has an argument, but nobody else does.
All right, let me clean up my earlier mishap with some stats. Okay, after last night, most interceptions in the National Football League. 3 quarterbacks are tied for 6. They are Anthony Richardson, Will Levis, and Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. There we have it. Yeah, Mahomes, it's been an interesting season for him. They were talking about on the broadcast last night how few times he went to receivers. He just went to Kelsey, obviously, over again, and then they trusted Kareem Hunt. And so they've got Xavier Worthy, and when he touches the ball, he's electric for sure. They just don't seem to go to him that much yet. And look, like we talked about, they don't really need to. They're able to just move the ball consistently down the field whenever they want to. The offensive line plays fairly well outside of some penalties from Jawan Taylor. But yeah, Chiefs 5-0, Vikings 5-0. And there you have it. Let's say hello to XL Primetime.
Now, the 2-minute drill, brought to you by Injury Care Centers, the exclusive provider of BioTarget regenerative therapy for pain. Visit GoBioTarget.com for a location near you.
As we say hello to Matt Hayes, Matt, I'll give you the update as far as Hurricane Milton that I saw about an hour ago, and that is that it has slowed down a little bit. The winds have increased, but it has slowed down, and so it'll be hitting the center of the state probably around 7 or 8 a.m. Thursday morning, whereas before it was projected a little bit earlier than that. And there are mandatory evacuations in St. Johns County. Not all of St. Johns County, but there are 3 zones, A, B, and F, that are required to be evacuated, I believe.
All right.
I'll tell you this, the good news, Matt, and this is from personal experience covering hurricanes, tornadoes, floods. It's a beautiful day today across much of the state, which is huge. I know you're rolling. Many of you are rolling your eyes as I say that.
Well, this is from living in the state all my life.
Right.
These things suck.
Right, they suck. But the point is that I've also been in situations where, i.e., like North Carolina the last few weeks, where it was raining the 2 weeks preceding the hurricane rolling through, and so you did not have time to sandbag, as we're seeing on the Weather Channel right now, them filling sandbags in Orlando. You didn't have time to allow for, some sort of saturation in the ground to be dried up. And so at the very least, we're getting that today. Glass half full, because that's just how I try to live now, is a sunnier disposition in general.
All right. How about that?
Yeah,
Good.
There you go.
Good.
Yeah, you don't have a sunny disposition.
I do.
Yeah.
I always do, actually.
Well, our zone...
Except when it comes to this football team here. Other than that,
I didn't want to say it. I was going to let you say it.
Our zone, Matt, Zone B in Duval County, has not yet been evacuated. I haven't seen any evacuations mandatory for Duval County, so that is good news. But yeah, what's going on as far as football is concerned?
So we are talking about this franchise here in town. We're also going to break down some big college football games, and we've got our coach, Dave Campbell.
Yeah.
And we're all hepped up because Leon brought some fried chicken in. So everybody's just raring to go.
Tight lady, let's go.
Raring to go.
Coming through. You never know.
Hopefully, Coach can diagnose the issues on defense. Thank you, Matt.
He was already trying to, believe me.
We'll be listening. All right, that's going to do it for us today. For Mia O'Brien, for RJ Saunders, for the absent Taylor Dahl, who will be back tomorrow. I'm Lauren Brooks. These heels are made for talking. We will talk to you tomorrow, but don't go anywhere. XL Primetime with Coach Campo comes up next right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.